So this is the first Triad Business Chat live, and my intention is to do this weekly, and work with, I guess, have a conversation with the business owner every week, and we can revisit Natasha. We can revisit again in the future too. Doing this with you because you've got a wealth of experience and insight to share. This is not so much an interview as it is digging into an aspect of your business, what value you bring to the marketplace, so that we can communicate that clearly with everyone and connect and support the Triad group here that Jennifer's built. And then as we're digging into some of those items from a coaching perspective, I'll share some insight or perspective on kind of what you're working to build, who you're looking for, and that kind of thing as the conversation unfolds. So this is informal conversation. Some of these are going to be 12 minutes. Some of these are going to be 26 minutes long. So we'll just see where it goes and go from there. But I got a couple of questions that I shared with Natasha ahead of time, just so that we can prompt the conversation and kick it off in a strong way. So Natasha, what I want to start with, of course, is introduce yourself, name your business, and who's the best client for your business. Why don't you share that with us?
Thank you. So I'm Nathasha Baltodano, owner of Envision Business Solutions. We've been in business for a little over a year now, just like everyone else. We started during the COVID times. But the best clients for me have really been tradesmen because I offer virtual assistant and answering services. So tradesmen, pretty much those plumbers, electricians, those in the construction industry who their phones are constantly ringing because people are wanting to schedule estimates, especially with the way this market is. They just don't have the time to cater to a client or fully pay attention to a client if their phones are ringing. So they're worried about paying attention to their client that they're speaking to at the moment, but also who's going to answer this phone call so that I don't lose out on this opportunity helping another client. So my team, we answer those phone calls, we schedule those appointments, we will even answer any questions, any pre-qualifying questions that the client needs, or just pretty much fill out an intake form, and then we get them on the schedule. We'll let our client know, and then just take it from there. And as a further step to that, we will actually follow up with the clients once they have received the estimate and see if they have any questions and kind of link them back with our client.
Yeah, that's what a valuable resource. Just making a couple of notes here to make sure I don't forget to come back. But yeah, we in our coaching firm, we work with currently and have worked with over the years many trades businesses, and it is just a prevalent theme. Phones ringing off the hook while I'm trying to do X. That's a big issue. Just a consistent major issue. And I've got so many estimates to put together. I don't have time. And one of the big problems with the estimate volume is that they're going on too many calls that they should not have gone on to begin with.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you spoke to pre-qualifying, because that is, especially when you're first getting going in a business and you're trying to get to that 100K, 200K, 300K mark and just get the business off the ground. You're taking every call and going on every estimate that you can because you need business.
Yes.
But there's got to be a point, because no one's going to honor your time unless you honor your time. And there's got to be a point where you bring someone into the equation, whether it's internal or an external resource like yourself, to do all those parts of the marketing and sales process for you so that it's consistent. You're qualifying and how great would it feel to know that these people have been put through the preliminary, pre-qualification by Natasha and her team already. So I know this is a high quality visit that I'm getting ready to make. instead of showing up and just not having any idea, knowing that 80% of the calls that you make don't go anywhere. That's really defeating over time. Is you're trying to keep the jobs moving with your couple of team members you're working with, or if you got a couple of crews, you keep those jobs going. And at the same time, you're the marketing and sales person as the owner.
Yep.
It's just what an awesome resource you've created. So you spoke to some of the services that you offer. So I want to move to this question I think will be valuable. In the last 6 months, what has been the most valuable service you've provided out of, you've got a product ladder of services that you provide. What's been the number one in the last 6 months that's been the most impactful?
It was really hard to pick one. I can pick two of everything.
They kind of dovetail, right? Some of them said.
Yes, because again, the answering service has been extremely helpful to a lot of people. It just relieves a lot of time so that they can focus on what I like to say, income producing tasks, which is kind of where the virtual assistant part comes in. Is that the virtual assistant part is really one of the most popular services that we offer, where we handle all the administrative back-end tasks, responding to messages on Facebook, responding to text messages, responding to emails, chasing invoices, all the non-income producing tasks that have to be done, but it doesn't have to be done by the owner. The owner should be out there doing the income producing tasks. So yeah, I'd say between the answering service and the virtual assistant side, handling all of the administrative aspects.
Absolutely. And that's, I owned a couple of retail stores. You know that story, Nathasha, but I owned a couple of retail stores up in the mountains for many years. And I was doing everything in that business. And I had a team of 22, 24 people. And I was still the choke point on anything happening. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Before you send that in or before you do that, just check off with me real quick. So I slowed, and looking back on it now, I see it clearly, but I, as the owner, was the ceiling, was throttling everything back to my own incompetence and time management, so nothing moved unless I had my touch on it. And I thought that was really good as a business owner. And also the ego plays into that for a lot of business owners, whether we admit it at the time or not. Ego plays into it. I want to have complete control over everything so that any success we have, I had my hands on it. And the fact is, you got to let your team run. What you've got to do is hire intelligent, awesome people, and let them do their work. You got to hold them accountable and these things, but let them perform because they're there. They want to do a great job. Nobody wakes up in the morning on a team and says, hey, I want to suck today. Everybody wakes up and it's like, okay, what can I make out of this day? I got another day here. And they're either looking forward to working for you or they're dreading coming in. And you as the owner can dictate that. And the reason I kind of go what might seem like on a tangent a little bit there is having a resource like you, Natasha, and your team to support some of those aspects to clear up the bandwidth of the owner. The owner can actually work into the actual role of being the business owner for the business versus just a self-employed person in the business they own.
Yep.
That's a big difference. And as an owner, your time, it doesn't matter what you do, your time is worth at least $100. And I would argue several $100s an hour. So are you doing $300 an hour work? Or are you doing $30 an hour work? To your point, right? You've got to be focused as an owner on things that bring the most value in your role to that business. And I just think what you offer to these businesses is massive to help, because a lot of times you just don't know how to do that as an owner. It's like, well, what do I do if I bring another employee in? This is important aspect of value you're bringing, right? If I bring another employee in, what am I thinking as an owner? Well, I've got to train them. I got to hold their hand. All these questions are going to come to me. you bring in Envision to serve that role as an external resource, you already know what you're doing. I don't have to hold your hand. I do need to guide you on like what's our process going to
Yes,
be.
absolutely.
And actually, to that point, if I don't know what questions to ask you, Nathasha, you've been around the block, and you know what questions to ask me as the business owner. You can guide that step by step, and it's just so powerful. So that's awesome. Do you have so one of the questions here I've got, do you have a particular, and you don't have to name names, but do you have a particular story of working with one of the businesses that you serve, your team serves, and where they were versus where they are now because of how much bandwidth you've been able to open up and smooth out for them?
Absolutely. I actually started working with a new client in July, and they hired me to help them answer their phone calls and schedule appointments. And we even went as far as helping them build out a project management tool so that they can keep track of the estimates that are coming in. And they were very backlogged on their estimates, and thankfully now they're able to get back on track because they don't have to worry about answering the phones anymore. Now, the good thing about the service too that I provide is that not only can we answer the phones, myself and my team, but if they wanted to, they can go in there and they can answer the phones. They can also make any call outs if they wanted to. They can text out of the system as well. So they do have access to it if they wanted to. And this particular client, they do use it from time to time because people have gotten used to texting the owner directly. So they still like to be a little hands-on there and provide that personal service. But we are all still able to see everything going in and out.
That's really key because as an owner of a business, you hand this very valuable aspect of your business off. And it's such a fragile moment in working with a prospective client or customer, is from, hey, I've raised my hand to talk to somebody. At that moment, through those first couple of steps of engagement, that establishes the demeanor of the relationship. Mm-hmm. And so let me ask you, what was the turnaround on getting following back up with people who had raised their hand or reached out then versus the turnaround now and engaging those people? Because I'm sure it's a lot shorter than it was, right?
Yes. So as far as the actual phone calls and getting them scheduled on there, I mean, it happens in the moment. We're not, or something that I always encourage is once we answer that phone, we're going to get all the information and we're going to schedule them right then and there. We will not hang up that phone and say, hey, we're going to call you back and see when we can schedule, because that opens the opportunity for them to call someone else who is ready to schedule them at that moment. So we have our questions, we gather all the information there, and we go ahead and schedule out that estimate. I mean, that's extremely important when it comes to conversions, and as far as the estimates, yeah, it's no longer taking several weeks to provide an estimate because they have that extra time now, and they're able to see what stage in providing the estimate they're in as well.
Absolutely. And so did you guys create, with this client you're talking about, did you create a new pre-qualification, or did you use one that was existing?
We're using one that is existing. Yes. Yeah, okay. What has mainly changed, they provide the questions. They, of course, explained, these are the reasons why. And I love to know why each question is asked. So that way we understand the importance of it as well. Sure. But what has really changed is that they were working off of Excel sheets, Google Forms, and just different sheets and having to look in all these different places, whereas now it all goes into one system.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And a very cost-effective system at that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. And I refuse to even think about how many different platforms and apps that I use because it would kind of be ridiculous. I think most of us, you go to close out open apps on your phone, you pull up all your apps and kind of close them out. Mm-hmm. and just in 2 days time, like I do it every 2 or 3 days, I'll just kind of close everything out. It's like, I had no idea that I was in 17 apps in the last 2 days. That's crazy, or
Oh,
whatever it might be, And what that, when it comes to, being a business owner, and it's true for others as well, but what that is distraction. We think it's, oh, I've got all these apps that are going to help me optimize and systemize my business. But the fact is, it's so scattered, to your point, it's so scattered that it's more of a distraction than it is a tool for us. So, but having someone like you that has a really clear understanding of a couple of specific tools that can incorporate several different aspects of what's going on, that's pretty important too. So that's awesome. Let's see. So tell me, and this is for the group here too. You're looking for other tradesmen, specifically people in the trades, have businesses in the trades. Is there a size of business, or does that really factor into how much they can leverage your service?
There really is not I have a couple clients that are it's just them. They're the only person in there. Occasionally they may get help to help them with certain jobs. And then I have a client that has a team of 11 people, I believe. So I don't have any high or higher, I guess, businesses with more employees yet. But I am looking to work with a restaurant that has 2 locations and is starting food trucks, and they have a lot of people on their team. So I'm actually creating a mock-up in that system that I help people with project management to help them on the catering side, and hopefully improve their callback rate, because right now it's about 4 days out from inquiry.
Yeah, so let's speak to that real quick, and we don't need to be too much longer here. I'm looking at the time. When it comes to, what was I thinking about? Oh, so timing. And this is a statistic that a lot of people might not be aware of, but 88, I used to say 80-20, but it's actually 88% of consumer behavior is driven by emotion, not logic. 12% is logic, which means the timing, how efficient you are at serving, uncovering their specific need or desire and speaking directly to that instead of just giving your spiel each time, which 90% of it might not apply to them. That's the good qualifying questions will get there quickly, and do it right on the spot, not have to wait on a callback, not have to wait 4 weeks for an estimate and all these things. Or it's even valuable, I think, based on what we've discussed here, I think that you're probably not the best fit to work with so-and-so. And I've got 2 other businesses that I'm aware of in the area that might be a better fit for what your needs are. That's valuable too, because what you're doing is disqualifying them from getting an estimate, because that might not be the type of business or type of project that this client prefers to work with. But you are helpful by not wasting their time getting this estimate that might not have been a good fit, and you can recommend a different route. All of those touch points, that's emotion. All of that is that conversation and how you handle it, you and your team. That's really taking great care of that emotional engagement up front. And that, between qualifying and getting the right estimates moving and handling that with that level of care, that is going to massively increase the conversion rate for these people you're working with. So this is a really awesome service that you've created, a business you've created doing this, and there's a massive, massive need. And what I want to throw out there is, we're talking about trades, talking about restaurants, but there are a lot of other businesses and industries that can leverage what you're bringing to the table. And what I would challenge them to do is, if they have an idea of an area in their business, specifically with that marketing to sales flow, to reach out to you and just brainstorm a couple of ideas on how you could approach it a little differently and take some of the things off their plate, clean it up, be more consistent, and the conversion rate will increase. That's massive. That's massive.
Absolutely.
So the quality of who we're working with and the conversion rate increasing is huge. So I want to leave you with the last word here. Natasha, what do you want to share before we head off here?
I guess one of the things that I just wanted to touch on is, whenever you do look to outsource some of your administrative tasks, start thinking about, who am I going to trust? Don't just hire someone so that later you don't trust them to get it done. Because I think that goes back to what you were saying, how you were touching every single thing. But when you hire someone, whether it be internal or external, you definitely want to trust them, because then that alleviates the needing to touch every aspect.
And I'll say, I said I was going to give you the last word, and now I'm talking. Sorry. But you can tell when you're speaking with a virtual assistant type service that's more transactional versus you actually have empathy for the needs. And I believe, like in the conversation, I've gotten to know you pretty well over the last year or two. So you definitely bring a lot of empathy and care to the relationship and care for those customers or prospective customers. And that makes all the difference in the world. It's not a transaction. It's an opportunity, and it needs to be handled very carefully.
Absolutely.
So, Natasha, thanks for jumping on today. Hey, before we get off, I asked you this, I just remembered. Do you have one or two folks in Connect and Support the Triad that you would nominate to hop on a business triad or Triad Business Chat? What did we name it? Triad Business Chat. Talk next time.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's that? You want to name them, or you just want to share it with me?
So I would actually like to name Next Level Construction. And
I know those guys.
Yeah. And then I would also like to mention Combat Junk LLC, Steve Martin.
I've not had a chat with him, but I've seen him engaged in the group a lot, and that's pretty cool. So awesome. I'll reach out to both of those folks and see if we can't get them on here soon. Okay.
Yeah.